Right now, as you watch this, trillions of dollars are crossing borders, and almost none of it is actually moving. No cash in trucks, no gold in vaults, just messages flowing through one hidden network that most people have never heard of. It connects more than 11,000 banks across 200 countries. Every 3 days, the value passing through it roughly equals the entire world economy. And here's the part nobody tells you. This network doesn't move a single dollar. It moves something far more powerful. Trust. Cut a country off from it, and that country starts to suffocate. It has happened twice. Hackers once used it to attempt the largest bank robbery in history, and were stopped by a spelling mistake. This is SWIFT, the network behind every dollar you send abroad. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why controlling messages turned out to be more powerful than controlling money itself. To understand why SWIFT exists, picture international banking in the 1960s. A bank in Germany wants to pay a bank in Japan. There's no shared system, so they use telex, essentially a telegram machine, typing payment instructions by hand in free-form text, hoping nothing gets lost in translation. It was slow, it was chaotic, and it was dangerously easy to fake. A single mistyped instruction could send a fortune to the wrong continent. As global trade exploded after the war, the world's money was running on technology from another century. So in 1973, 239 banks from 15 countries did something unusual. They stopped competing and built one shared network together, headquartered in Brussels. They called it the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, SWIFT. By 1977, it was live. Every bank got a unique code. Every payment instruction got a standard format. No more free-form telegrams, just structured, secure, verifiable messages. It sounds boring. It changed everything. Because for the first time, the world's banks all spoke one language. Here's what most people get wrong about SWIFT, and it's the key to this entire story. SWIFT doesn't hold your money. It doesn't touch your money. It has no accounts, no vaults, nothing to steal in the traditional sense. When you send money abroad, your bank sends a SWIFT message, a secure, standardized instruction that tells the receiving bank what to do. The actual money settles between banks through accounts they hold with each other, often hopping through a chain of middlemen called correspondent banks. Think of it like this. SWIFT is not the trucks that carry the cargo. SWIFT is the air traffic control system. And without air traffic control, nothing flies. Today, more than 11,500 institutions send over 50 million messages through it every single day. Your salary from a foreign client, a corporation buying oil, a government paying its debts. Almost all of it starts as a SWIFT message. And because so much of world trade runs in dollars, many of those payment chains pass through banks in New York. Remember that detail. It's about to matter enormously. Because here's what the founders never intended. When every bank on Earth depends on one network, that network becomes a weapon. In 2012, Western powers pressured SWIFT to disconnect Iranian banks over the country's nuclear program. Suddenly, Iran couldn't easily get paid for its own oil. Its trade didn't stop, but it slowed, went underground, and got expensive. Economists watched a country get partially unplugged from the global economy, without a single shot fired. Then, in 2022, it happened again, bigger. After the invasion of Ukraine, major Russian banks were cut from SWIFT. Politicians called it the financial nuclear option. Think about what that means. SWIFT is a cooperative in Belgium, overseen by central banks like the Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank. It isn't an army. It isn't a government. It's a messaging service. And yet exclusion from it can strangle a national economy faster than most sanctions ever could. Whoever controls the choke point doesn't need to control the money. They only need to control the messages. But absolute dependence creates another problem. Because when everything flows through one door, someone will eventually try to pick the lock. February 2016. Hackers, widely linked to North Korea, slip into the Central Bank of Bangladesh. They don't break into a vault. They steal something better, the bank's SWIFT credentials, the keys to the messaging system itself. Then they wait for a Thursday night, the start of the weekend in Bangladesh, while New York is still working. And they fire off instructions to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Transfer nearly $1 billion of Bangladesh's money. The messages look completely legitimate. Because they are legitimate. Real credentials, real format, real network. $101 million goes through. 81 million lands in the Philippines and vanishes into casinos within days. The rest was stopped by luck. A routing bank flagged one transfer because the hackers misspelled the word foundation as foundation. One typo saved roughly $870 million. The largest bank robbery in modern history required no guns, no masks, no vault. Just access to the network everyone trusts. That's the dark side of a choke point. Its power and its fragility are the same thing. So countries are trying to build their own doors. China runs its own payment system, CIPS. Russia built one too. But networks obey a brutal law. Their value comes from who's already on them. 11,000 banks don't move house easily. For now, there is still one network, and everyone knows who can lock the door. And notice the pattern, because you've seen it before. In our last video, a handful of shipping companies controlled the flow of goods. This time, one network in Belgium controls the flow of money. Different industry, same architecture. The modern world keeps building itself around single points of control, and then acting surprised when someone squeezes them. Goods. Money. Next, risk. Because behind every ship, every factory, and every skyscraper stands a tiny group of companies you've never heard of. The firms that ensure the entire global economy. When they say no, entire industries stop. That's the next choke point we're mapping. Because the lesson of SWIFT is the lesson of this whole channel. You don't need to own the world's money. You only need to own the wires it travels on. All of this can sound abstract, banks talking to banks, systems talking to systems. So let's make it real. A woman in Karachi works a construction job in the Gulf. Every month she sends money home to her family. That transfer doesn't move in seconds, even though we live in an age of instant everything. It passes through her bank into the SWIFT messaging chain, sometimes through 2 or 3 correspondent banks, each one taking a small cut, each one adding time. What should take minutes can take days. Multiply that by hundreds of millions of migrant workers sending remittances home every year. Over $800 billion annually, according to World Bank estimates, and you start to see the real weight of this invisible system. It's not just moving corporate trade payments, it's moving rent money, medical bills, school fees, groceries for someone's grandmother. And when the system slows down, or a message gets flagged, or a country gets cut off, it's not a headline about global finance anymore. It's a family that doesn't get paid on time. This is the part that rarely makes it into the news coverage. When people talk about SWIFT, they talk about sanctions, geopolitics, power. But underneath all of that is a simpler truth. This quiet messaging network isn't just plumbing for banks. It's the nervous system connecting billions of ordinary financial lives across borders. And most of those lives depend on it working, invisibly, every single day.